Welcome, curious minds, to another deep dive. Today we're plunging into a story that, well, it profoundly challenges our usual ideas about animation. Many of us, we link animation with childhood wonder, maybe fantastical tales or lighthearted fun.
Sure, that's the common thought.
But what if animation could tackle the most devastating, the most profound human tragedies? And maybe even do it with a raw emotional power that sometimes surpasses live action.
That's a fascinating question, and it leads us right here.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's precisely what we're exploring today. This isn't just a story many have heard of. It's one that few truly feel until they've experienced its unique kind of visceral impact.
That's a really excellent way to frame it. For this deep dive, we are focusing on a true masterpiece from Studio Ghibli, Grave of the Fireflies, directed by the extraordinary Isao Takahata.
Right.
And like you said, this film absolutely shatters any preconceived notions that animation is just for kids' entertainment. It really does.
Oh, completely.
It stands as this stark, unforgettable testament to the devastating, unyielding impact of war, particularly on its most vulnerable victims, innocent civilians, children.
Yeah.
So our mission today really is to move far beyond just a simple plot summary. We're not just recounting events.
No.
Instead, we want to peel back the layers, explore the intricate emotional depth, the powerful, often heartbreaking symbolism, and the enduring legacy that has cemented its place as one of the most impactful anti-war films ever created.
And the source material we're drawing on for this really allows for that depth, doesn't it? It offers such a detailed look.
It really does. Incredibly detailed. We can delve into its narrative nuances, its artistic choices, its profound timeless meaning. It gives us a lot to work with.
Okay, let's truly unpack this then. We're setting the scene in Japan during the brutal, desperate final months of World War II.
The very end stages.
But it's crucial to understand right from the start, this isn't about grand battles or political maneuvering or the heroics you might see in other war films.
No, none of that.
This historical period serves as the harrowing backdrop for an incredibly personal, deeply heartbreaking struggle for survival, seen through the most intimate lens possible.
Exactly. It's ground level.
Our journey into this world will be through the eyes of two central figures, a teenage boy named Seita and his much younger sister, Setsuko.
Just these two kids.
Their story, as our sources really powerfully illustrate, is a microcosm of a much larger global catastrophe, but viewed not from a geopolitical distance, no. It's seen through the most immediate, devastating human experience imaginable.
It's a potent reminder, isn't it, that beneath the grand narratives of war, there are always countless individual tragedies. Unseen, often.
Unseen and unheard. Okay, let's dive into part one. And speaking of devastating, Grave of the Fireflies doesn't exactly ease you into the tragedy. It rips the Band-Aid off right from the very first scene.
Oh, immediately. No preamble.
This film doesn't begin with life or even the slimmest hope of survival. It starts with death, plain and simple.
Yeah. We find Seita, described as ragged, starving, utterly defeated, dying on the floor of a train terminal in post-war Kobe Station. It's stark.
Just lying there. And a janitor discovers his body, disposes of his few meager belongings, and among them, there's this small, seemingly insignificant candy tin.
That tin.
What's inside? A handful of ashes and a few small bones. It's just a chilling, immediate punch to the gut, right away.
The deliberate choice to begin with the end is, I think, one of the film's most powerful and unsettling narrative decisions. Our sources really emphasize its impact.
Definitely.
The film's opening line, starkly narrated by a spirit-like version of Seita, is September 21st, 1945. That was the day I died.
Chilling.
This immediate revelation of Seita's ultimate fate profoundly alters how you, the viewer, experience everything that follows. It's not about if they survive. That question is answered within the first minute.
Right, the suspense is gone, replaced by something else.
Exactly. It's replaced by dread, maybe. The narrative shifts entirely. It becomes this haunting, almost unbearable exploration of how they arrived at this tragic demise.
You're watching their struggles, knowing it's all futile in the end.
Precisely. You're watching a story knowing its inevitable, heartbreaking conclusion, which only intensifies every struggle, every tiny, fleeting moment of joy, and every new layer of despair that gets added.
In that candy tin.
Yes, that candy tin. Even before its full, devastating significance is unveiled later, it's introduced right from this very first moment.
Hi.
It subtly becomes this haunting symbol, a vessel for a story that we already know ends in ash.
It makes you lean in, doesn't it? It
Yeah.
makes you need to understand the journey that led to that tragic end.
It absolutely does. This powerful, almost brutal prologue sets up the entire film as one long, agonizing flashback.
We're seeing the events that led to this incredibly tragic end, almost like we're witnessing a ghost recounting their final desperate days.
Yeah, it feels like memory. And before the true horrors of the war really descend upon them, we get this brief glimpse of Seita and Setsuko's initial life in Kobe.
A little bit of before.
Right. They live with their mother. Their father is serving as an officer in the Imperial Japanese Navy. It seems like a normal, if slightly strained and anxious, family unit navigating the realities of wartime Japan.
But that fragile normalcy is shattered almost immediately, isn't it?
Yeah.
The war's unrelenting force just descends upon them with terrifying speed and brutality.
It does. Our sources delve into the historical reality here, detailing how American forces deployed incendiary firebombs containing napalm and white phosphorus. These weren't just regular bombs.
No, they were designed for maximum destruction in those specific environments.
Exactly. Specifically designed to create massive firestorms in the densely packed, predominantly wooden cities of Japan. This wasn't just conventional bombing, it was strategic carpet bombing aimed at total urban destruction.
Turning cities like Kobe into literal infernos.
Precisely. The film depicts this with terrifying realism. You see their city become a hellscape, fire engulfing homes and lives, and their mother gets caught in one of these attacks.
It's brutal.
She's critically burned and tragically dies from her injuries in a makeshift infirmary. It's horrific.
And was particularly agonizing. And something our sources really highlight as a crucial character moment for Seita is his immediate, desperate decision.
To hide the truth from Setsuko.
Yes, he carries this immense, unbearable burden, shielding his innocent younger sister from the crushing reality that their mother is gone forever.
It's a primal protective instinct, isn't it? But the cost to him must have been immense.
Oh, absolutely. That moment is incredibly visceral. It just sears itself into your memory. The firebombing isn't just background noise. It's the direct, brutal catalyst for their entire tragedy, ripping their lives apart in an instant.
It's the turning point.
And Seita's decision to hide his mother's death, it reflects his deep protective instincts, yes, but also the crushing weight of premature adulthood just brutally forced upon him.
He becomes the parent overnight.
Our sources really underscore the immense psychological toll on him in that instant. Suddenly, he's the sole protector, the sole guardian of Setsuko's incredibly fragile innocence. It's a burden no child should ever have to bear.
It transforms him.
Yeah.
He shoulders the secret, and it really marks the beginning of their profound isolation, doesn't it?
It really does.
Indeed. With their home destroyed and their mother gone, the siblings, well, they have no choice. They have to seek refuge with an aunt, a relative who lives in a nearby town.
It seems like the only option.
Initially, the situation seems manageable, like a temporary reprieve from the immediate chaos. But as the war drags on and resources grow scarcer, national rationing, economic collapse, the aunt's demeanor starts to change.
Things get tight.
Very tight. Our sources emphasize how she grows increasingly resentful of their presence. She starts criticizing Sarita for not working for the war effort, accusing them of laziness, of freeloading, even though he occasionally sells their mother's kimonos for rice.
Which must have been heartbreaking in itself.
Absolutely. This section truly delves into the painful theme of isolation and, more broadly, society's gradual abandonment of the vulnerable in times of extreme crisis.
And it's not like a sudden switch flips, is it? It's portrayed as this slow, agonizing emotional erosion.
Exactly. It's gradual.
The aunt, though, family, represents the harsh realities and strained resources of wartime Japan, where every scrap of food, every spare hand counted. Her actions aren't necessarily born of pure malice, maybe. Our sources suggest it's more about the desperate struggle for her own family's survival, competing with any compassion she initially held.
Survival instinct kicking in.
It illustrates in such a heartbreaking way how societal stress can erode humanity and empathy, even within family units. When resources are stretched to breaking point, even the most fundamental bonds can fray.
People prioritize their own immediate needs. It's a difficult truth, isn't it?
It really is. What stands out to you about how that gradual shift in her behavior is so meticulously shown?
What's truly, I think, masterful here, and something our sources highlight, is the insidious nature of this decline in empathy. It's not an outright rejection at first.
No, it's subtle digs.
Right. It's a constant chipping away at their dignity, making them feel like burdens, like outsiders within their own extended family. And that slow, painful, emotional erosion is often far more devastating than a sudden, overt act of cruelty.
Because it feels more real somehow, more insidious.
Yes, exactly. It highlights the gradual breakdown of human connection under extreme duress. You see how the aunt's initial willingness to help just curdles into resentment, fueled by the scarcity and fear that war imposes on everyone.
Takahata portrays that nuance so well.
It really does, showing us that even good people can be pushed to their limits, where survival instincts just override compassion. It's a sobering commentary on how war corrodes not just buildings, but the very fabric of human relationships.
And feeling unwanted, feeling disrespected. Seita, driven by, youthful pride, and a desperate need to protect Setsuko from this emotional abuse. He makes another pivotal and ultimately tragic decision.
He decides they should leave.
He decides to leave the aunt's house with Setsuko. They move into an abandoned bomb shelter near a pond, trying to live independently. He believes he can protect and provide for them better on his own.
It's born from love, that decision.
Absolutely. But this act, while fueled by his fierce love and a misguided sense of responsibility, ironically leads them further into isolation and deeper peril. They're cutting themselves off from any semblance of societal support, however strained it might have been.
Severing their last fragile ties to the world that might, just might, have offered them some kind of lifeline.
Yeah.
This move is undeniably a critical turning point in their story, as their sources point out. It signifies their complete and utter detachment from the struggling, but still existing societal structure.
They're on their own now, completely.
Seita's pride, his desperate need to shield Setsuko from the aunt's cruelty and the perceived indignity, it pushes him to believe that he can provide for them alone. But in doing so, he isolates them from the very systems, however imperfect, however broken, that might have offered a chance at survival.
It's heartbreaking because you understand why he does it.
Totally. This act, while deeply rooted in his love and a sense of duty, tragically showcases his naivete and the overwhelming nature of the forces they were up against. He thinks he's protecting her, but he's unknowingly leading them deeper into a wilderness of their own, where the war's indifference will reign supreme.
It's a testament to his pure, unwavering affection, but tragically also to the impossible odds he faced. Just impossible. So they're in this abandoned bomb shelter trying to forge this independent existence. And for a brief, almost unbearably heartbreaking period, there's this illusion of freedom, of fleeting happiness that's almost painful to watch because you know their ultimate fate.
You know it can't last.
Seita, with incredible dedication, tries to create a semblance of a normal life for Setsuko. He fetches water from the pond, he cooks what little food they can scavenge, they play games, trying desperately to maintain some scrap of childhood innocence and routine.
His effort is immense.
This period truly showcases his immense love and dedication, doesn't it? He's desperately trying to keep a sliver of normalcy alive amidst the grim realities surrounding them, all for her sake.
Absolutely. This period in the shelter, though painfully brief, it's crucial because it highlights Seita's immense love and his unwavering commitment to Setsuko. Despite the grim reality, the constant hunger, the looming threat, the lack of proper shelter, he's actively striving to maintain an illusion of childhood and normalcy for her.
Keeping the darkness at bay, just for a little while.
Exactly. This is where the core theme of family and responsibility truly shines through, even as their circumstances continue to spiral out of control. Our sources highlight how Takahata uses these scenes to underscore the profound bond between them.
It's all about their connection.
Right. It's not just about providing food, it's about providing comfort, joy, and a sense of routine amidst overwhelming chaos. You see him transforming the arduous daily struggles, fetching water, cooking scraps into a kind of shared adventure, a game designed to distract Setsuko from the terrifying truth of their plight.
He's trying to be both brother and parent.
A truly heartbreaking effort.
And in this incredibly fragile new existence, one of the most iconic and poignant moments of the film unfolds. The Fireflies.
Ah, the Fireflies!
They watch them fill the night sky, this rare moment of pure, ethereal beauty in a world that has become nothing but ashes and despair. Setsuko, in her innocent delight, captures them in a jar to light up their dark, lonely shelter.
Bringing a fleeting glow to their lives.
But the next morning, the Fireflies, as nature dictates, have died. And Setsuko, with his heartbreaking innocence, buries them in a tiny grave in the dirt and asks, with a wisdom that just floors you, why do fireflies have to die so soon?
That question, it just hangs there. This is truly a central symbolic moment, and our sources emphasize its profound dual nature. The Fireflies represent both brief, ethereal beauty and their tragically short lifespan.
Beauty and fragility.
Takahata's choice of fireflies isn't just about their fleeting life, though. It's also about how their quiet, almost invisible beauty contrasts so sharply with the loud, visible horrors of war, the bombings, the fires.
Like a silent tragedy.
Exactly. It's an insight that suffering and loss can be profoundly beautiful in their own quiet way, yet tragically ignored. A poignant reminder that not all tragedy screams for attention. Setsuko's innocent question directly connects to their own fleeting existence and, by extension, the countless lives of children lost to war,
Lives that burn brightly for a moment.
before being extinguished too soon. For the listener, for you watching, this scene subtly yet powerfully shifts the narrative. Any lingering hope starts to fade, replaced by this profound sense of impending doom.
It turns childlike wonder into a harbinger of loss.
A quiet premonition of their own fate. It makes you wonder, doesn't it, how often we truly appreciate beauty knowing its impermanence, and how that reflection applies to the preciousness of life itself, especially in times of great suffering. The scene's quiet melancholy is deeply unsettling.
It truly is a devastating question.
Yeah.
And from that point, their slow descent into desperation becomes just relentlessly apparent. Their situation worsens dramatically. Food becomes increasingly scarce, the grim reality of wartime rationing, a collapsed economy.
The struggle becomes constant.
This forces Seita to resort to desperate, humiliating measures. He's scavenging through fields, stealing vegetables from farms, even pilfering from bombed-out homes, doing whatever he can just to find something, anything for them to eat.
He crosses lines he probably never thought he would.
Meanwhile, Setsuko grows severely malnourished and sick. Our sources detail her agonizing symptoms. Persistent diarrhea that weakens her rapidly, widespread rashes that torment her skin, and this overwhelming exhaustion that leaves her listless, unresponsive.
It's a slow, painful process of deterioration. Watching her fade is just awful.
This portrays the grinding, merciless nature of starvation and illness in wartime with unflinching realism. Seiya's resorting to theft underscores the extreme measures people are driven to in desperate situations, further isolating them from any societal norms or support.
He's pushed beyond the boundaries of law and morality, not out of malice, but out of sheer love and desperation.
Yeah.
The theme of war's indifference becomes starkly visible here. It's not about heroic battles or grand strategies. It's about the slow, agonizing, undignified decline of the most vulnerable.
The human cost, far from the front lines.
Our sources highlight how Takahata deliberately avoids glorifying any aspect of war. Instead, he focuses on this mundane, yet utterly brutal reality of civilian suffering. The detailed description of Setsuko's specific symptoms, the diarrhea, the rashes, the exhaustion, makes her suffering incredibly concrete and painful for the viewer.
You feel it.
It emphasizes the brutal physical and emotional toll of their struggle, a kind of suffering that rarely makes the headlines of wartime chronicles. It's the quiet, unglamorous horror.
And just when you think things can't possibly get any worse, just when you might be clinging to some tiny thread of hope that maybe somehow things could turn around, there's this cruel, ironic twist of fate.
The bank scene.
When Seita finally goes to withdraw the last of his deceased mother's savings, hoping to buy them some decent food, maybe even some medicine, he learns this momentous piece of news. Japan has surrendered.
The war is officially over.
And devastatingly, in the same breath, he's told that his father is likely dead, lost with the rest of the Imperial Japanese Navy fleet. All hope gone.
This moment, which for so many people would be a profound relief, for the war ending, the promise of peace finally arriving, is presented as another crushing blow for Seita. It's a cruel twist of narrative fate.
The timing is just brutal.
Our sources point out the bitter irony. For him, it's not an end to suffering, but the final, devastating loss of hope. Any lingering possibility of his father's return, any sense of a future beyond their isolated struggle is completely extinguished.
These comes too late for him, in a way.
Right. The news of peace only validates his deepest fears and confirms his utter aloneness. This timing is a bitter, tragic irony. It's a moment that strips away his last anchor to a normal existence, severing his final connection to the pre-war world.
And it sets the stage for the film's devastating conclusion. He's truly adrift now, the news of the war's end and his father's presumed death. It truly marks a point of no return for Seita and Setsuko. He is now completely alone, no help of external support. And what follows is the film's agonizing, unforgettable climax.
It's incredibly hard to watch.
When Seita returns to Setsuko with the meager food he managed to get, propelled by this desperate, fleeting hope, it's already tragically too late. She's delirious, incredibly weak, utterly unable to eat.
Past the point of saving.
And in a heart-wrenching moment that just epitomizes her innocent love and profound suffering, she quietly offers him a rock, believing it to be food. A final, heartbreaking act of care amidst her complete surrender to delirium.
That image, the rock, is just devastating.
She dies shortly afterward, clutching her beloved, now empty, candy tin.
This scene is undeniably the emotional core of the entire film. It's designed, I think, to inflict maximum impact. The overwhelming sense of helplessness is palpable, a crushing weight that settles upon you.
You feel so powerless watching it.
And the cruel irony of food arriving when it can no longer help, it's a gut punch that resonates so deeply. Setsuko's offering of the rock is perhaps one of the most powerful and heartbreaking symbols in the entire narrative.
What does it represent, do you think?
Well, it represents her profound suffering, her complete detachment from reality, and yet her unwavering, innocent love for Seita. Even in her final moments, she's still trying to care for him.
Even then.
Our sources highlight how Takahata uses this subtle yet chilling realism here. Setsuko's death isn't dramatic or idealized. It's a quiet, pathetic passing from starvation and illness, which makes it all the more devastating.
No melodrama, just quiet fading.
Exactly. And her final act of clutching the candy tin only amplifies the tragedy, connecting her last moments to the few remaining symbols of her childhood innocence and those happier, fleeting times. It's a moment that stays with you, raw and unyielding.
Devastated beyond measure, stripped of everything he held dear, Seita performs one final, desperate act of love and responsibility.
He has to do something.
He gently cremates her tiny body. It's this poignant, almost sacred ritual performed in a desolate landscape. And he carefully places her ashes, along with a few of her possessions, into that now iconic candy tin.
The tin again, holding everything now.
He then wanders the streets like a ghost among the living, lost and utterly broken by grief and starvation, until he too eventually succumbs to death in the train station, the very place where the film began.
Bringing the narrative full circle in this devastating loop.
His act of cremation is a final, desperate gesture of love and dignity in a world that has utterly failed them, a solitary act of profound care. His subsequent wandering and eventual death complete the brutal cycle of their isolation and underscore the war's ultimate unforgiving cost.
What stands out to you about how this final sequence so powerfully reinforces the film's anti-war message? Because it really does, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. It underscores the absolute devastation of war on individuals, stripping away not just life, but dignity, hope, any sense of a future. It's not just a statistic, it's this specific personal annihilation.
Right. Our sources emphasize how Takahata closes the loop by returning to the film's opening scene. It highlights the relentless, inescapable grip of the war's consequences, long after the bombs have stopped falling and peace treaties have been signed.
The damage continues.
The system, society, even family units have failed them, leaving them to the silent, lonely demise that goes unnoticed by the bustling world trying to rebuild around them.
It truly drives home how war doesn't just end when the fighting ceases. Its ripple effects can destroy lives in the most profound and painful ways, stripping away not just existence, but the very essence of human connection and care.
This cyclical narrative just hammers home the point that their suffering wasn't an isolated incident, but a deeply ingrained consequence of a conflict that devoured everything in its path.
Yet the film doesn't end quite there. It offers this final, bittersweet, almost ethereal epilogue.
Yes, the spirit.
The spirits of Seita and Setsuko, reunited at last, are shown silently watching over modern-day Kobe from a hill, bathed in this ethereal, almost nostalgic glow. It's a striking image.
Very striking. The contrast is powerful.
The vibrant, bustling city below, rebuilt, thriving, largely oblivious, contrasted with their forgotten, tragic story.
It's a truly profound moment of reflection. Our sources suggest it's meant to provoke deep contemplation. This scene provides a bittersweet sense of reunion after unimaginable suffering, a sliver of peace in their afterlife, perhaps.
But it's more than that.
Oh, definitely. It also serves as this poignant, almost accusatory reminder to the viewer. The contrast between the vibrant modern city and their forgotten story emphasizes the film's core message about how easily the human cost of war is forgotten or unseen in the passage of time, how quickly the world moves on.
So easily forgot.
What does it mean for their spirits to be watching? Is it a warning to us, a lament for what was lost, or simply a timeless presence reminding us of the fragility of peace and the enduring impact of conflict on the innocent?
Is left open.
Deliberately left open for you, the viewer, to ponder. It deepens the film's reflective, almost spiritual quality. It's a final, silent plea for remembrance. Don't forget us.
It certainly makes you think, pulling you back to their story long after the credits roll. And those powerful images and narrative choices are just interwoven with these deep, resonant themes and symbolism that our sources have helped us unpack in such detail.
Let's revisit some of them.
Okay, let's start with those fireflies again. They appear in such a delicate yet utterly devastating moment.
As we discussed, the fireflies are incredibly potent symbols in Grave of the Fireflies. Our sources suggest Takahata chose them specifically because they encapsulate this complex duality.
Beauty and death side by side.
Exactly. They represent the brief beauty and profound fragility of life, specifically serving as a poignant metaphor for children lost to war. Their short, luminous existence mirrors the tragically truncated lives of Seita and Setsuko and countless other innocent victims.
A fleeting light in the darkness.
Gone too soon, leaving only the memory of their glow. But beyond that, they also highlight the children's fleeting attempts to find beauty and solace amidst unimaginable horror. The fireflies are a fleeting miracle, a small, natural wonder that gives them a moment of peace.
But their inevitable death foreshadows the extinction of the children's own hope.
Precisely. It's a truly beautiful yet heartbreaking piece of natural symbolism. Powerful stuff.
Then there's the humble candy tin, which transitions from just a simple childhood object to this vessel of immense grief and profound memory. It holds so much meaning throughout the film, doesn't it?
The candy tin is an extraordinary example of how an ordinary object can become imbued with immense symbolic weight. Our sources really dive into its evolution. Initially, it symbolizes innocence and comfort, a simple tin of fruit drops, right?
A small treat.
A small piece of normalcy and joy in their rapidly deteriorating world, a treat Setsuko cherishes. But as the narrative unfolds, its meaning transforms tragically. It becomes a repository for the last remnants of their mother's life, maybe her ring, ashes later, and eventually the sacred ashes of Setsuko herself.
It goes from holding sweet candies to holding the bitter truth of death.
Exactly. Embodying the ultimate loss of innocence and the brutal reality of their circumstances, it's a tangible link to happier times that tragically becomes a container for final goodbyes, a silent witness to their slow, agonizing decline.
Ultimately serving as this poignant, heartbreaking urn.
And it's quite a Japanese way of dealing with remembrance, too, keeping the ashes close, contained.
That makes sense. And the theme of isolation is just heartbreakingly central to their story, isn't it? The siblings aren't just physically alone in that bomb shelter. They are emotionally abandoned by a society overwhelmed by war.
A society that has no more resources, physical or emotional, to spare.
Despite Seita's relentless efforts to protect Setsuko.
Precisely. Their isolation goes far beyond mere physical separation in that damp, dark shelter. It's a societal abandonment, a gradual pulling away of all support systems. Our sources highlight how the film carefully depicts how even the aunt, a family member, ultimately prioritizes her own family's survival.
Illustrating how war can fracture communal bonds.
And erode the very concept of shared responsibility. Seita's attempts to fend for them, while noble and driven by pure love, ultimately push them further into this desperate, insular world, making them completely vulnerable to the war's cruel indifference.
They truly are an island in a sea of chaos.
And that profound, multifaceted isolation directly contributes to their tragic end, highlighting how societies can fail their most vulnerable members when faced with overwhelming crisis.
That brings us to another profoundly powerful theme: war's indifference. The film never glorifies war, never shows heroic battles or strategic victories.
Not at all.
Instead, it portrays war as this devastating, impersonal force, an unstoppable, uncaring machine that just grinds up lives, particularly for the most vulnerable among us. This is absolutely crucial for its anti-war message, isn't it?
This is indeed the cornerstone of its anti-war message. Our sources are very clear on Takahata's intent here. The film consciously strips away all the usual trappings of war films, the heroism, the strategy, the geopolitics, the grand narratives of victory or defeat.
All that stuff is gone.
It strips away all the romanticism and focuses solely on its raw, unfiltered, and utterly brutal impact on innocent lives. The war itself is an unseen, indifferent enemy, a pervasive background hum of destruction that relentlessly chips away at their existence without prejudice or reason.
It doesn't pick sides, it just destroys.
Takahata doesn't depict a specific antagonist or even a side in the war to blame. Instead, he forces us to confront the uncomfortable truth that human suffering can arise not just from active malice, but from a collective, overwhelming societal collapse where individuals are just left to drown, unheeded.
The system fails them.
The film suggests that the greatest victims are often those furthest from the battlefields, forgotten by the very systems meant to protect them. It's not a glorious struggle. It's a slow, agonizing descent into oblivion.
And at the heart of this intensely personal tragedy, perhaps the most poignant theme of all, is the profound theme of family and responsibility. Seita's fierce pride and his immense unconditional love for his sister drive his every action, his every desperate choice.
Even as circumstances spiral completely beyond his control,
Yeah.
Seita's character truly embodies this theme completely. He serves as the emotional anchor of the film. His actions, driven by a deep love and a fierce sense of responsibility, are both admirable and tragically misguided.
You root for him, even knowing.
You do. He carries the impossible weight of protecting Setsuko, trying to shield her from the horrors that have befallen them, from the world that has turned its back on them. Our sources emphasize how his youthful pride, coupled with his inability to fully grasp the overwhelming scale of their predicament, leads him to reject the flawed support systems that might have saved them.
Like leaving the aunt's house.
Exactly. His love for Setsuko is unconditional and pure, a beacon in their darkness, but it ultimately cannot conquer the brutal indifference of the war and the overwhelming scarcity it imposes. It's the ultimate portrait of a personal sacrifice overwhelmed by impossible odds.
Highlighting the limits of even the deepest human bond against forces of such magnitude.
It's profound.
And it's this combination of raw, unflinching emotion, piercing, multi-layered symbolism, and that unflinching realism that has cemented Grave of the Fireflies' legacy and impact. It really sets it apart as something truly unique in cinematic history.
That's absolutely right. Grave of the Fireflies is widely considered, and this isn't an exaggeration, one of the most powerful anti-war films ever made, animated or otherwise.
Right up there with the greats.
Its power lies precisely in its steadfast avoidance of political commentary or historical revisionism. Instead, it focuses exclusively and intensely on the human cost of conflict, particularly from the innocent, vulnerable perspective of children.
And the animation style itself contributes to that, right?
It does. Our sources highlight how Takahata's animation style contributes significantly. Unlike the more fantastical or expressive animation often associated with Studio Ghibli, Takahata employed this restrained, almost journalistic realism in the visual details and character movements.
It feels very grounded.
This deliberate subtlety forces you, the viewer, to feel the psychological weight on Seita and Setsuko, rather than just observe externalized emotions. Coupled with the meticulous sound design, the oppressive silence, the distant bombing, the chirping cicadas, the faint sounds of Setsuko's labored breathing, the film creates this immersive, almost suffocating atmosphere.
Trapping you in their isolated, dying world.
Exactly.
So it's not about battles or geopolitics then, is it? It's about the deeply personal, intimate destruction wrought by conflict on individual, innocent lives.
That's at the core.
That intense focus on the emotional reality, on the quiet suffering, is what makes it so universally resonant. Regardless of your background or specific historical context, it bypasses intellectual arguments and goes straight for the heart.
Precisely. The film earned critical acclaim globally, not just for its profound emotional depth, but also for its hauntingly beautiful yet equally disturbing visuals and its incredibly mature, uncompromising storytelling.
It doesn't pull any punches.
Not at all. It has been lauded for its stark realism and profound empathy, leaving an indelible mark on audiences worldwide. As our sources powerfully conclude, it is not just a war film, it is a human tragedy.
That sums it up perfectly.
It forces you to confront the unseen tolls of conflict, not just on nations, but on the most vulnerable individuals who are so often forgotten in the grand narratives of history. How does a film that so unflinchingly depicts such profound suffering also provide such deep insight into human resilience, the unwavering power of love, and ultimately, the futility of war.
But a question that stays with you long after the credits roll, challenging you to look closer at the world and at ourselves. Hashtag outro. Well, we've taken a really deep dive into Grave of the Fireflies today, exploring its unforgettable portrayal of the human cost of war, the intense fragility of life, and the enduring, yet ultimately tragic, power of familial love in the face of truly insurmountable odds.
It's a heavy one, but so important.
It's a film that resonates because it speaks to the very core of our shared humanity, reminding us of the quiet, personal stories hidden behind global conflicts.
And as we reflect on Seita and Setsuko's story, it forces us to confront some uncomfortable truths about humanity and conflict, doesn't it? What does this film make you consider about the unseen tolls of conflict? Not just on nations, but on the most vulnerable individuals who often bear the heaviest burdens. And how do stories like this, told with such emotional precision and artistic courage, shape our understanding of peace, empathy, and remembrance in a world still grappling with the echoes of past and present struggles?
That's the big question it leaves us with.
It's a question that demands our continued attention and compassion, I think.
We really hope this deep dive has offered you some new insights into this profound and essential film. If you haven't seen Grave of the Fireflies, well, we encourage you to seek it out. It truly is an experience unlike any other.
Be prepared, though.
Yes, definitely be prepared. Or perhaps if you have seen it, maybe rewatch it with these new perspectives in mind, allowing its timeless message to resonate anew. Thank you for joining us on the Deep Dive.